Let's discuss 3 ways to speed up burning fat. Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name is Bruno Panucci. I hope you're doing well. So I've lost 165 pounds on this carnivore diet, and then I put some of that weight back on, even though I was doing strict carnivore. I was doing a high-fat version of carnivore. It was more geared towards healing my body than it was weight loss, but weight loss was eventually the side effect from it, and I've been losing that weight again that I put on. And I'm back to my starting point after a 1.5-year plateau before I put on that weight. So before we get into these 3 tips, I'd really appreciate it if you'd like, comment, subscribe, and smash that bell notification. I really appreciate that. It really helps support the channel. So let's get into the topic. So 3 different ways you can burn fat. There's a lot of different ways you can burn fat. So what you want to try and do is lower your insulin so that you can lose weight. Now, if you have a history of thyroid problems or other hormones, like your adrenal gland is fatigued, you might have to do some different types of exercises, and you might not want to do particular exercises. But if that's not your issue and you're just looking to do this carnivore diet, I recommend typically just do carnivore. Just do regular carnivore. If you haven't been experiencing any sort of plateaus of any kind and you're just starting a carnivore diet and everything's going well, keep on doing what you're doing. Don't stop. Just have regular carnivore, eat till you're satiated, get lots of fatty meat, and then repeat. Just do that. See how you go. And if you start hitting plateaus, these are some different ways to troubleshoot that. Now, one of the most obvious things is some weight-bearing exercises. Putting on lean mass will increase your metabolism. Putting on some lean mass will actually change your body fat percentage. If you're a 300-pound person and you have 45% body fat, so by putting on lean mass right off the bat, it's going to change that ratio so that your body fat percentage is going to go down. So yes, you're lowering your body fat percentage, but in the process, you're increasing your metabolism. So if you're out of shape and you're starting a weight training routine, you can easily, especially if you're a guy, especially if you're a younger guy in your 30s or 20s, you can easily put on 20 pounds in a year of lean mass. So that's going to be musculoskeletal lean mass you're putting on. Your bones are going to get denser and your muscles are going to get stronger. So you want to keep that in mind, that increasing your metabolism, your resting metabolic rate, is going to allow you to burn more calories through the day. Now, you don't want to go so intense that you're actually stressing your body out too much. So calm and slow is a great way to go because you're trying to fatigue the muscle. You want time under tension when you do an exercise, and you ideally want to be going up with your strength training and all your weights every week. If you're not going up in reps, you're going up in weight. So you have to track what you're doing because you won't know if you're going up if you're just going intuitively. Now, if you have a strong history with weight training, that's a different point. You already know how to listen to your body, and you can tell by your body if you're putting on lean mass or not. But if you're just getting into this for the first time in a long time, or for the first time ever, it's important that you track what you're doing. You always want to go into that burn and try and make sure the last few reps are really tough to do. If they're not tough to do, you're not really doing this right. So you have to make sure that when you're doing these exercises, you don't want to just keep pushing around that same 10 or 15 pound weight that you've been pushing for the last 5 years during your Pilates routine, because that's not a workout. It's movement. It's good, but it's not a workout. Your body's already adapted to that. You have to push yourself every single time. And you don't want to push yourself so hard that you're creating an adrenal fatigue and you're increasing your adrenaline and cortisol, but you want to push yourself enough that your muscles are getting a bit of a burn. The next thing to do, I would recommend, is 10 minutes of activity after your meals, whether it's a small meal or a big meal. 10 minutes of activity is all that you need, maybe even 5 minutes if you're in a real pinch. Say you can't afford to get really sweaty, right? 5 minutes of activity is going to make you huff and puff, but it's not going to allow you to start sweating too much. And if you are, but don't worry, because if you are, after a couple weeks, that's going to die down because your respiratory system is going to start catching up and you're not going to be as winded. Now, you have to always keep that fine line of pushing yourself. Now, you'll notice after doing this daily that you're not going to be as winded after a couple weeks of this 10-minute exercise window that you were when you started. So that means you have to up your game. You always have to be pushing yourself with any exercise. Movement is good, but you always want to be pushing yourself. And I don't mean straining yourself. So you work in a high-rise building or just a tall building and you think, you know what, I'm going to climb 10 flights of stairs today. After lunch, I'm just not going to take the elevator and I'm just going to walk up the stairs. Maybe you might decide to do 5 minutes of squats. Try 5 minutes of squats. Go from there. Give yourself room to grow so that after a while, if you want to make it 6 minutes or 7 minutes of squats, your goal is to always see how many squats you can do in that allotted time and make sure you're going down to depth. And depth means your hip is getting as low as your knee. Make sure you bring your bum back far enough when you're doing this squat squat so that you're getting depth and you're including your glutes, because I don't want all the pressure to be in your knees. I want it to be in your bum. So you have to make sure to bend down so that you're at a 45-degree angle with your back, and then you pop back up. Bend down and pop back up. Simple as that, all right? Really, any sort of movement that's going to keep you going for that 5 to 10 minutes is a great way to go. That's all it's going to take after each meal, 5 to 10 minutes. Start at 5. If you're really out of shape, do 5. If you feel like you're in moderately decent shape, start at 10 minutes. It could just be a brisk walk, but let's face it, due to environment and weather conditions, you can't always go for that walk after a snack, break, or meal, or sometimes you only get a 15-minute break. So you have to make that count. And if you're pumping out as many squats as you can in 5 minutes, I don't know many people that can do squats straight for 5 minutes. You're gonna have to stop and catch your breath. And that's when you can incorporate eating with your exercise if you only get the short break. 5 minutes will be enough. Trust me, if you're only able to do 5 minutes, then I highly recommend something that's a weight-bearing exercise like squats. It's body weight, so that still counts. But if you have the time, 10-minute walk is a nice way to go because you're not going to really have time to increase your cortisol or too much of a sweat. There are tons of YouTube videos out there about what you can do for exercise in a short window of time that's going to stimulate some muscle growth, give your body a reason to burn off some of that fuel, and lower your blood sugar that went up after your meal. Another thing you can do that seems to be working pretty well for me lately is an earlier eating window. So I complement this with making sure I get some potassium chloride throughout the day, and this seems to work for me. So I'm having an earlier eating window, and I'm typically not eating too much, though I do sometimes. I'm not consistent with this, but I've been doing this and trying to finish my meals around 12 or 1 o'clock. Then if I'm really hungry and I've had a really active day, I'll happily eat something again later. But you know, sometimes it just works out that way. I end up going out for lunch or dinner with somebody else, and maybe it's a late lunch or an early dinner. And I don't mind because 4 out of the 7 days a week, I only had my eating window end at noon. So I was eating once a day, or maybe I had 2 small snacks leading up to say 1 o'clock, and then that was it. And normally that would affect my sleep in a negative way. But since I've been getting this potassium chloride in my diet, it really helps keep my electrolytes in balance, and it seems to be working. So I'm happy about that. So I'm going to do a couple more videos in the near future on different ways you can speed up burning body fat. So I hope this works well for you. If you have any suggestions of something you find that's beneficial for you based on your work environment or your home environment, by all means, let me know. Thanks a lot and take care.